being on a plane, you're sitting next to a stranger, they lean over and say, "Hey, I'm just starting my journey. What advice do you have for me?"
First of all, let me appreciate you for asking a question that I haven't been asked after 2,500 or so interviews over the years.
The very first thing I would say is you have to drop the ego, which is everyone's greatest obstacle. And so the ego is your ego.
The fear of trauma, again, in the future is called anxiety because you didn't know how to deal with it in the past.
In 2008, Grant and I had been married for 4 years. I was pregnant with my first child. The economy was collapsing, and we were on the verge of losing everything financially.
Hey everybody, it's Corey Poirier back with the latest edition of the Enlightened Passenger Show. You can see I'm wearing my Vegas shirt, which a lot of people seem to think is the vegan shirt. It's actually a Garth Brooks sweater that I bought at the residency that Garth did in Vegas. And everybody thinks I'm a proud vegan, which, as Seinfeld said, there's nothing wrong with that. I just wanted to introduce the latest edition of the show. This time around, we have Chef Chong. Not really a chef, as you'll hear in the episode. It's kind of his stage name as a hip-hop artist. And I met Chef Chong at the Emmy Gifting Suite the first time. And then I met him again at the Grammy Gifting Suite, and I believe at the Oscar Gifting Suite. So I've actually really gotten to know Chef Chong quite well. Spent actually probably 4 or 5 times with him now. I've visited with him. Great guy. Again, he's done so many amazing things, both in the film world, in the music world, and he's just crushing it in his career. So I hope you enjoy this conversation, the dialogue, what he says he would tell a stranger on a plane. But until that time, and before we get to the other side of the interview, don't forget to get your copy of the Enlightened Passenger book, the book that inspired it all, the book that hopefully is going to be a film very soon. You can get your copy at thisisthebook.com, and you should be able to go grab it today. Hello, everybody. It's Corey Poirier back with the latest edition of the show. I always kind of talk to the audience as well because it's a podcast, but also video. So I'm excited here to have with me Chef Chong. And now somebody asked you why the chef part of your name. So of course, you know I'm going to ask you that probably. But before we jump ahead to that, I want to ask you, Chong, I always like to ask our guests to tell us a little bit about themselves so that I'm not reading like a bio or something. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are and your background before we dive right in?
I am a very passionate artist, passionate about my music and the art of, being an actor, the way they level out and kind of are, on whole different beams at the same time is kind of like, it's just amazing to me. So, I'm drawn to it, so here I am, I make music and I'm an actor, producer. Right now I'm putting out a documentary on a music icon from Chicago. I kind of got my hands in a couple of hats. So, really just an entrepreneur and, ambitious.
I'll follow that up with is anybody in LA just focused on this one thing anyway? I think everybody has kind of like multiple hustles, right? Like I think you almost have to.
Yeah, it was hell, yeah. It's kind of like sometimes you got a frequent movement in one thing, and sometimes it gets slow. So when it's slow, you could be doing other things until that picks up, and then you kind of learn to juggle it. Which is it's a task by itself, but it's it's worth it.
I love it. And so you mentioned doing a documentary. So do you mind? Can you share yet who the documentary is on? I'm not sure if it's like secret.
No,
secret
it's not a secret. It's about a music icon from Chicago. His name is George Daniels.
George Daniels?
Yeah, he was like a centerpiece for. I can say it like this: he was what the algorithm is right now for music. He was that, and starting back in the 70s, early 80s, 90s, definitely the 90s for hip hop. So he owned a record store, and a lot of music stores weren't selling hip hop. So it was stores like his that actually, got the music and the content to the people. So
That's amazing. And so, how far along are you in the documentary? Like, is it a?
we're finished right now. We're done. We're trying to. We're working on distribution and everything right now.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm at the early stages of a documentary, and I don't think people watching from the outside in realize how much work is really involved. It seems like, can't I just turn on the camera like a reality show and just film and I'm done?
Oh no, it is a lot of work. You know, we can't wait to make movies next, so we're gonna do some movies this time.
So now with this one, is there a lot of interviews with people that sort of were part of the culture and part of that time? And
Yes,
awesome.
yeah.
And is it mostly? I shouldn't say mostly. Is it all based in Chicago? Like, is the whole documentary just around the roots of Chicago, or does it go, about hip hop across the world? Or
Well, it's about his life. So he's known across the world. So it's not centered in Chicago, but it's about a man from Chicago.
that makes sense. And now moving to the acting side, did you get like, I hear this term all the time, the acting bug? Did you get like a moment where you're like, this is what I want to do? Or is it something where, you were always kind of a fan of movies, or where the acting comes in?
Yeah, no, I learned the lines to movies quick. I watched one movie once, sometimes twice if it's, some real good dialogue, twice, maybe three times, I know the whole movie. And I've been like that since a kid. So, you know, I've learned to go and through different characters and work with different characters and, and voices, so I just try to, zone in. One of my early movies that I did, I worked with Forrest Whitaker, and Forrest Whitaker was a method actor, so he taught me method acting. So it was cool, And method acting is like, I'm that character until the job's done. So,
Yeah, yeah, you hear some stories like that with I remember the one I heard a lot was Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman, and people go on set and they're like, "Hey Jim," and he's like, "Who's Jim?" Like he like literally was, "I'm Andy." Period. Like 24/7, and that takes a lot of dedication.
I didn't know that about Jim on
Yeah,
that one.
yeah. Like I heard it from somebody who said they were a huge fan. I think it was, I might be wrong, but I think it was Kevin Hart said in a stand-up special. It might not be Kevin, but I think it was, who said they went to meet, oh no, it was Dave Chappelle. And he said, I went to meet Jim Carrey. I was a huge fan. And my buddy brings me, says, "You want to meet Jim?" He goes, "Yeah." So he brought me in the set of Man on the Moon with, as Andy Kaufman. And he's like, I get there and I'm like, this isn't Jim Carrey. This is Andy Kaufman. Like he wouldn't talk to anybody as Jim Carrey. You'd try to talk to him about his Jim Carrey life. It didn't exist. And so he went all in.
That's dope.
It is, but I mean, I realize how much commitment that must take, like,
Yeah,
just to get that in.
mentally too. Like, what does it take out of who you are?
Mm-hmm.
I
Absolutely.
think we've seen some of it, like with Heath Ledger and other actors.
Yeah, I think if I watched a few interviews back with Heath Ledger near the end, and he had been playing the Joker and Bob Dylan back to back, and he was like, he talked like it consumed his life. Like he was shaking. He was on a bunch of different stuff, like all because of how deep he said he went into those two roles.
Yeah,
Like that's pretty deep stuff to go in at that level.
honestly, it is.
Yeah. So, having said that, do you see yourself in future roles, like going to that level of method acting? Like, is that something that
Well, I feel like I'm strong mentally. You know what I'm saying? So if I did, I think I could pull back. But yeah, like the job is the job. If I do a movie and I'm playing Denzel, I'm gonna be Denzel when I leave the set.
yeah, that's
Get your hands off of me.
I mean, I think it's admirable to do that though. Like just the idea of, I'm so consumed by this role, I want to be at 24/7. So you're really becoming the character or person.
Yeah,
Especially probably really important with biopics when you're playing somebody else.
yeah.
Just to get in, that's what they lived, that's who they were. I guess the other thing I'm wondering about, if I go over to the music side for a minute, you talked about how you kind of got into acting as far as you were always able to kind of see scripts and watch a movie and know all the lines, which I'm
Yeah,
sure helps with music as well.
yeah.
Remembering the lyrics and stuff. But was music the same thing? Like, was one a bigger passion than the other, or was one started before the other, or?
No, you know what? I think, but I don't know which one started first, but they all kind of met together. Like music, I get to be myself and portray who I am. And acting, I'm playing a character and many different characters. So, you know, I get to show my talent in both ways, but in one, I get to be authentic and, straight from right here. So that's why I like music, because I get to be myself, but yeah, acting, you may get well, I'm the star, I can kick everybody's ass, but being myself, I'm not trying to even get into none of that that kind of stuff, superhero, spy, whatever, I can do it.
Yeah, you get to kind of live vicariously through.
Yeah, but with music, you get to just
Be-
stick to who you are.
I love it. And so going back to the music, it's great timing because I want to ask you about the name. So Chef Sean, I got to
Yeah.
hear off air where that kind of came from. So feel free to share whatever you want about how that name came to life.
Well, you asked me, why do they call you chef? I said because I cook crack. But usually it's always like a attention grabber, and the play on words. Music is my good dope music. My music is dope. It's like I'm making crack in the studio. The studio is my kitchen. That's why I called my first studio that I opened up. I named it the Kitchen Recording Studio. So I kind of inherited the name Chef. So I just ran with it. And here we are.
I love it. And so I wanted to ask you, since you mentioned sort of documentary, I've been fascinated by time machines for a long time. So I've been asking this question.
Uh-huh.
I call it the time machine question.
I kind of
And-
like this question already. I don't even know what to say.
and we're actually working on a project around this question.
Mm.
But the question itself is simply, if you jumped into a time machine, if they existed, if you
Mhm.
could jump into a time machine and go back and talk to a younger Sean and give him some life advice based on what you've learned over the years, what do you think you might tell younger Sean?
Shit. A lot. That's a book. Excuse me, but it's a lot of things. First off, younger Sean, what would I go tell him? I would go tell him, be exactly who you are, and follow your dreams and stick to what you really want to do, what's in your heart, and things will work out. I wouldn't give nothing completely away, but I would give them words of encouragement, and tell them just stick to who you are. Don't second guess it.
So, follow-up question, what do you get in the time machine? Like, would you get in the time machine?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm always fascinated because some people like not a chance.
Nah, I would. Obviously, I'm like the type, I go back to the 90s and, and, right when hip hop was, really kicking off and was like, yo, not the 80s yet. Well, I go back to the late 70s, early 80s when Reagan was about to, on his way in the office, he just got done acting. Me, put me at the same hotel with Pablo Escobar, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be quite the experience.
Yeah, it's, sometimes that I probably would go back just to be a fly on the wall. Like, like musically, when Curtis Mayfield made I'm Your Pusher Man, I'd have liked to just hopped in a time machine, just to make it for that studio session. So, just certain times like that, that's all.
I like it. So this is a similar question. The difference, I think, is it's more related to what you would say to somebody else than yourself. But the other question I ask regularly is the passenger question. So you're on a plane, somebody sitting next to you says, hey, you got any advice for me? Any life advice? What do you think you might tell a stranger rather than what you told yourself?
A stranger? I would tell them to treat people how you want to be treated. You know, I don't care who they are, because you never know who they really are. You know, you never know what somebody's going through. So treat everyone how you want to be treated. That's what I would tell the stranger.
So how, I mean, I know I'm foreshadowing here a lot because I know you have so much career and life to go. And this is a big question, but what do you think you'd like your legacy to be? Or do you even ever think about that idea of legacy?
Not really, never have, but you know, somebody that does without, you know, I like to do without even thinking about getting anything back. You know, and if it comes back in different ways. You know, I just that's my legacy. You know, just do things because that's what you know. That's what feels good, not because you got an angle or some kind of finesse or something. You know.
I love it. And so, as we start to wind down, on the music side, what is if somebody was discovering you today for the first time,
Mhm.
what is the thing you would tell them they need to check out first? Like, if you want to say, this is who I am on the music side, where would you send them? Like, is there a song you would send them to? Is there, go to check out this online, or where would you send them?
I would send them to Apple Music, Spotify, you know, all the major platforms, and I would say go download um, My Life by Chef Chong. It's an album that I have out right now. It's got 19 songs on it, and I just did a little bit over 9 million streams. So it's doing pretty good. And listen to that and be ready for the next album. I got one on the way. Like it can be dropping, you know, within this next month, any day. So My Life is out, and I got one coming out, new one. It's called The Way Up.
The way up?
The Way Up. Not on the way up, but like scale wise, kind of like weighing up all your options. It's the way up.
The way up. I like it. Now, how about on the acting side? Like, if there's something you would say to somebody, check this out. Like, is there a place where you'd say this is whether it's a role or whether it's you gotta check it? Where would you send people?
Well, probably my biggest role is Jason. On Jason's lyric, I was actually Jason, and that's when I worked with Forrest Whitaker. So you could go watch Jason's lyric and check me out. And then I've got another one that we did all together. You know, it's called Teeth and Blood, and it's on all platforms. So Teeth and Blood, I was a kick-ass detective cop. You know, fighting vampires, getting my getting whooped all over the scene, but you know I outsmarted and kind of beat them. So go check that out, man. That's a good one.
And then what's the name of the documentary that's coming out?
Music Man.
Music Man. I love it.
Yeah.
And you said right now you're working on distribution, so to be continued.
Yeah,
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. You know, but we're in a good spot, so I don't want to speak too fast, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's definitely gonna be trying to have it out for Black History Month, you know, which would be great, you know, as far as timing, but we'll see.
Yeah, you can't force it, right? Like,
No, you can't, but that'll be a good time.
Amazing. So the last question is simply, how can people learn more? Like we talked about where they would, if they went to find you on Spotify, here's the song or album they'd look up. But if you wanted people to follow along in general, like you have a website or a hub where you'd send people?
Oh, you can follow me on Instagram right now. That's probably my most frequent where I'm always at. I respond to as many people as I can, you know. So yeah, Instagram, The Real Chef Chong.
The Real Chef Chong.
The Real Chef Chong. Keep up with me, you know, follow me throughout the day.
And now you've heard here where the name came from.
Yeah, you heard, you know, the history behind it.
Amazing.
And
Chef Chong, an absolute pleasure. With your permission, I'll call it a to be continued and say till next time.
Man, till next time, I love to come back, man. Especially after this new album comes out. The Way Up is gonna be big.
Awesome. I'm going to watch for that, and I'm going to try to arrange it around that time.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks
All
so
right.
much again.
Thank you, man. I
Awesome.
appreciate it.
So that's our interview with Chef Sean. It's a wrap. And again, I hope you enjoyed the insight that Sean shared in the interview. Hope you check out the next episode of The Enlightened Passenger. But in the interim, don't forget to get your copy of the book at thisisthebook.com today. Thanks, everybody. I'm Corey Poirier. And again, thanks for tuning in.